Good afternoon. Thanks for joining today's live webcast with Droplet NeverTrust. I'm joined today by my colleague Barry Daniels.
Hi everyone.
Barry will be talking you through our Droplet NeverTrust solution and our architecture. But before we do that, I wanted to highlight that identity theft is on the increase. Many solutions out there today depend on some form of two-factor authentication. So a zero trust world, many of the software vendors and security vendors rely on identity to authorize and access to applications and databases. There's been many over the last few years. Over the next few minutes, we're going to highlight what makes Droplet NeverTrust different from a standard zero trust approach. And we'll talk through our zero trust model and how we've helped many organizations take their problem applications and migrate them to a new platform and achieve the highest levels of cyber certification. So I'm going to pass you over to Barry now, who will talk you through our NeverTrust model.
Hi everyone. So Droplet is a containerization technology. It's our own unique ones and zeros. It's not a rebadged Docker or Kubernetes. We've been built secure by design from the get-go and are no stranger to looking after mission critical applications for industries such as nuclear, military, government, both local and central government, NHS and other large enterprise customers. Generally, what we typically get known for in many cases with Droplet is being able to look after the legacy layer. But Droplet's far more than that. We are a security solution that can look after the modern as well as your legacy servers and application estate. We uniquely protect the data because we were built as an application delivery mechanism to be able to work offline, in the cloud, anywhere you want around any various different use cases you have. We have ownership right the way per application, per data, and you can start to control on a per application basis what data should be accessed, in what way, with the governance set, removing admin rights to any user to be able to do anything from badly written apps or badly coded apps that sometimes you can elevate your rights or your privileges and then get access to other areas of data that you shouldn't have access to. Which really moves me a point to the endpoint. So an endpoint is a big challenge for most people, especially in a bring your own device world where you may have various different endpoints entering your system. How do you manage them? How do you control them? How do you look after and ensure the safety of your infrastructure, your environment away from those bad actors and bad threats? Droplet can sit and run across any endpoint. It doesn't matter if it's Linux, Chrome, Mac, obviously a Windows world, on the end client device. On a server side of the house, we can sit on any hypervisor. So be that Hyper-V, be that VMware, be that KVM, be that whatever the end point may be on a hypervisor or any cloud, we can happily sit there in a hybrid world, in an all cloud world, or on the endpoint at the edge. The uniqueness around Droplet is we deliver applications as a centric piece from a security point of view, and you can set up different security bubbles of applications. So you can deploy a multi-tiered application in separate Droplet bubbles. So you can keep your Outlook tier separate from your ERP tier, separate from your sales tier, separate from the operational tier, and run them in such a way that the end user doesn't know any difference of what they're running. They have a series of shortcuts, they double click it, they get their app. Unbeknownst to them, they may be being delivered by separate Droplet bubbles, so you get one cohesive, seamless experience from the end user point of view, where they are completely unbeknownst that this security solution is in place, and they're just able to do their job in the way with the app that they know and love unchanged. And those separate Droplet bubbles will protect you from breakout across your network, and we can control the network layer per application seamlessly in such that once you understand what your application should talk to, what it needs to talk to, we lock that network down. We have a network overlay stack that sits onto Droplet that controls that traffic. So in the use case that I was talking about a little bit earlier, let's take the Outlook as the biggest risk to any organization. It's the one application that brings outsiders into your environment, and you're having to manage a third-party access as such, bringing in their bad attachments, poor links, etc. Well, imagine a world where that's totally isolated and separated. You can take all your existing tools, protect all of your environment seamlessly alongside Droplet, unchanged. We're not saying take any of the security you have away, and we're not saying we protect that layer. But what we can do is isolate that layer safely away so it won't affect the rest of your organization, controlling that network layer, making sure that data only traverses to where it's supposed to talk for that layer. And then we also encrypt that network to military grade encryption so that anything that traverses across a Droplet network stack can then be protected safely away from the bad guys. So I'm going to take that one stage further from that network layer for one moment. Imagine, and this is a common use case that we see across many of our clients, you have a legacy Internet Explorer that's talking to a legacy backend server. It may be sitting on things like 2003 server, 2008 server, 2012 server, or it could be a modern backend, 2019, 2022. What we can do and achieve is control that application stack in a separate bubble, control how the endpoint is protected away safely so that the internet browser that may be older versions of Internet Explorer 8, or we've seen Internet Explorer 6 or 4 recently, or the Internet Explorer 11. And when you consider that Microsoft now is going into support on Windows 10, leaving people needing to upgrade to Windows 11, and the challenges that that may bring, in this world where we can control in a safe way those particular routes on the traffic on the network, it can only be used to do the job it's supposed to do. And if you're using inherently insecure protocols like TLS1, then it was protected inside this encryption layer to military grade encryption across the Droplet bubbles. The perimeter defense is the NeverTrust model. So NeverTrust is something that we are completely different to any other security vendor that I've seen, and that our large partners on the SI VARs, the NCSE that we work with closely at the beginning of this year have seen, where every other vendor relies on identity. And Derek touched on this at the beginning, that identity theft is on the rise. And it can be fooled. You look at the RSA hack that he detailed out in the piece before. Doesn't matter how good that security vendor is, it's still a set of code, it's still a set of algorithms, it's still an identity. And so even in a zero trust world, you're still reliant on that identity. And if someone's able to elevate their privileges, able to gain the correct identity, gain the correct admin rights, then zero trust is not going to protect you, because it's still identity based. You're going to be able to go through each of the gates and checks and balances across the network and be able to go where you want. And some of the high profile breaches that we're seeing, especially in an AI driven world, which in my opinion is only going to enable the bad guy more and more and more to do more with less. They're going to be making millions from this, and they're going to be targeting the weak layer, the legacy layer in the main. They're going to be looking for the vulnerable points. And that really is the NeverTrust model, blocks all inbound completely. So anything from outside in, we do not rely on identity. We do not rely on credentials. We deploy via identity because you need to know who needs access to what applications. But from a security point of view, it sits in a totally isolation bubble. And we do not give you the rights to be able to manipulate that, change that in any way. So you are in a world where you're in like a locked vault, safe away, that runs on any platform as a layer that sits in isolation from any of the operating system or hypervisor. So you can deploy us anywhere. It really doesn't matter. But this NeverTrust model will just see everything as external traffic and drop it by default. Now, when you put together this 7-stack OSI model that we've just talked you through here, the human layer is the one we haven't talked about. We protect the human layer from 2 points of view. If you think on the left, you've got all the traditional security products, all of the security that you would normally have around identity, rights access management, web filtering, email filter, encryption, antivirus, firewall, and think then of all the vendors that you've got that take care of all those separate different steps to protect you. And really what we're saying is Droplet sits as a layer above that identity layer that doesn't rely on that. And this NeverTrust model, we're not saying take any of the onion layers away. And security is about onion layers. It's about as much protection as you can get. It's about having the multi-vendor approach. It's about being able to protect it in such a way that we protect even that human layer because of the way that we control down the data, take away the admin privileges, control where it can go on the network, separate out and isolate the application, mitigating your risk. We're a container technology, snapshot us, bring us back up. And to my knowledge, Droplet is the only product that in one single product can actually claim to protect across that whole 7-point OSI model. Back to you, Derek.
Thanks very much, Barry. So if any of the points we've discussed today are a challenge for you, or you'd like to know more about how Droplet can achieve these points and overcome these objectives, Droplet is pen tested on a regular basis by our customers, by our partners. And we know from those pen tests that we have two customers who have failed cyber accreditation and then following our model passed the same accreditation, and in fact surpassed it from Cyber Essentials to Cyber Essentials Plus with the same application in our world. So that's the sort of thing that we can achieve and we can back up as well. If you're interested, contact our partners. Our partners, a view of our partners is on the screen just now. Reach out to our partners if it's something you'd be interested in. And join us next week where we'll talk about how our customers have used Droplet to help address server migrations, whether that's legacy or modern, from physical to cloud. There's many challenges when migrating applications and servers, and many of our customers have used us to overcome those challenges around software compatibility and cyber accreditation. So finally, thanks very much for taking the time out today. And if you did enjoy the video and the topic, please like the video, which I'll be sharing on my LinkedIn profile, and share it with your colleagues. Thanks very much for watching.